welcome to Scrolling with Ceazor. Today is February 18th, 2026. I got a lot of news for you today, a lot of things to talk about, a lot of tweets, but as always, this is not financial advice. This is all just my biased opinions based on the tweets and the news that I have found. Okay, so let's kind of get into things. So let's take a quick look first at the charts. So, ETH seems to be still down here, as nothing much has happened. It's sitting at the bottom of my range. I'm actually considering picking up some more ETH. I won't add it to this position, but I'll put it somewhere else. I just have this feeling that like we're kind of chopping around at the bottom, and then we might turn around and go back up. But I'll think about that myself. What do you think? Do you think we're gonna continue downward or eventually turn around and start moving back upward? Okay, let's take a quick look at gold as well to compare. So gold has recovered yesterday's losses, and again, it's right in the middle of my liquidity position, so I'm happy with this for sure. Okay, let's move on to some tweets in no specific order. I didn't order them today very well, so I'm going to jump around a little bit, so I'm sorry for that. So the first one here we have from Pickles Cage. He's talking about Katana Network. Katana Network is a pretty interesting network. It's like a layer 2, but it has like embedded yield inside it. So all the assets you bridge to Katana have yield on mainnet already. So USDC on Katana is actually USDC lent on Morpho. So you're getting Morpho mainnet, Morpho yield. I think it's Morpho. I could be wrong. Sometimes I forget, but I'm pretty sure it's Morpho. So they lend it to like on Morpho, and then that yield is given to the people who have USDC on Katana, and then there are options on Katana to put that USDC to work there as well for further. So here is an option that is there. So it's called Spectra. Spectra is kind of like it's basically a Pendle fork, I guess you could say. There's subtle differences, but as far as I can tell, they're pretty standard. And I do think it's important to have competition, like even if it's a 100% exact fork, I do think it's still important for there to be other options for people to use. So Katana is being boosted with CAT rewards. So CAT is the governance token of Katana. It's not really tradable yet, but pretty much everything you do on Katana will be incentivized with CAT tokens right now. So you can farm some of the network governance token while getting decent APRs, really decent APRs. So I would always suggest you to check at it. If you are a Pendle or Spectra user, there is this option here that you can kind of check out. I like to check out principal tokens. It's like basically fixed yield. Sometimes those principal tokens yield pumps quite a bit, and you can get a fixed yield. So that's what I like to do with Spectra as well as Pendle. Anyhow, so you can check it out. That's it. Next one. Here we have Johnny Time. Johnny Time's like a dev influencer. He kind of talks mostly about dev stuff. He's got some training things to teach you how to be a Solidity dev and stuff like that. And here he has a pretty interesting thing. I will share this tweet with you so you can kind of get into it. It says like, how well do you understand flash loans? Let's take a short quiz here. And then if you do click on that quiz, you'll see like there's the quiz, but it's a long article as well where you can kind of learn about flash loans and stuff like that. Now, flash loans have been basically what the debate of legalized firearms. So like flash loans are the main tool that exploiters use to exploit protocols. Not all protocols are exploited via flash loans. However, flash loans are used the majority of the time to help exploiters exploit protocols by using flash loans to adjust Oracle prices and stuff like this. However, flash loans also create for fantastic capital efficiency. So instead of paying swap fees all the time, you can use flash loans to lever up positions instead of actually looping things manually by borrowing, buying, depositing, borrowing, buying, depositing, borrowing, buying, depositing. Flash loans can kind of just do it all in one transaction, and generally they're cheaper. Some flash loans are actually even free because they're atomic, and flash loans are not going anywhere. Like the only way to stop flash loans now, to turn off flash loans in crypto, is for everyone to migrate their liquidity, and that's not going to happen. So because there are places where you can flash loan for free or very cheap, so and these are immutable contracts with large TVLs. So it's like we can't turn off flash loans. We could if everyone coordinated and made this the mission, but it's not going to happen. So we kind of have to understand how they work better. And you kind of, as a dev, you have to kind of think about the fact that flash loans are just a thing of the circumstance. They're just there. So you have to adjust your code and your design with the idea that flash loans can happen. Okay, so this is a fantastic, if you are a dev and especially if you're researching and learning, this is a fantastic person to follow, as well as, you can check out this flash loan test. I did not do the test myself. I just haven't started. I'm probably not going to do it either, but it's interesting to understand it. So you can kind of go through this and understand flash loans a little bit better. And thanks Johnny for this like public good, basically. Okay, so DeFi Dad here has retweeted this. I talked about this yesterday, but what DeFi Dad said here kind of made me think of some stuff. And I've got a little bit of brain fog today, so I'm trying to recall exactly my thought when I first saw this tweet from DeFi Dad. So let me read it out loud, and then I might remember what I wanted to say. America is open for business on chain. Tell the incumbents trying to litigate their competition out of business to F the F off. So basically what he's saying is like, the banks and stuff like that, they don't want crypto because it's going to take their business, right? Their business model is based on the fact that people don't have any other options. And where I live, it's really brutal. There's only like 5 big banks, and they pretty much control everything. It's very hard. Like crypto is very hard to deal with. Like here, like you have to use crypto as a degen, like me, on chain manually, and all the products that are like centralized, that can kind of semi-centralized or on-chain like automated and stuff like that. All these products are very hard to use in Canada. Like they don't offer APRs and stuff like this. And I'll give you an example today later when I get through to the tweet about EtherFi as an example. But what this made me think about was the other day I was watching Pam Bondi do her congressional hearing, right, where they were asking her questions, and one of the Congress people, I don't remember which one it was, they started drilling her on why have you closed down and fired all the people in the crypto task force. And that made me remember what it was like when Biden was in office and Pocahontas was all about like killing crypto. And it made me kind of feel a little bit scared because Donald Trump's not going to be president forever, and the Republicans are not going to be the leading party forever. And eventually these Democrats are going to come back, and the banks obviously control some of them, maybe not all of them, and maybe the banks control some of the Republicans too, but they're going to come back, and those people are going to get back into position, and they're going to reopen this crypto task force unless like there's some sort of law put into power that will force, the allowance of crypto, which I don't really think, like the Genius Act kind of will help to make it like solid and everlasting, so to speak. However, I do kind of worry a little bit about like the next term and the next president and so forth. And then other countries tend to follow America somewhat. Like right now, like my country, Canada and America, are quite at heads with one another. They kind of going in opposite directions, and you can really see it quite clearly where I am. But the kind of thinking, like what DeFi Dad said here, is true, but maybe it might be premature in the sense that what's going to happen when Donald Trump's no longer president, and so forth. Anyhow, so that's just my thoughts on that. Let's move on. So FX protocol is just kind of saying today, happy day boosters. So they have a very cool system. You go to Echo if you are a content creator. You can go to Echo Markets, you can sign up, and if you create content about FX protocol, then you can get it's like airdrops, like tokens. It's kind of like, you can think of it kind of like Kaito, but it's not so automated. I don't know, I don't know how to compare it completely, but just, yeah, if you want to create content, you can check out FX protocol and sign up for Echo Market and do some research, create some quality content, and explain this thing and get a piece of the airdrop I think they do it every week. But anyhow, that's it. Let's move on. Okay, another protocol, another one of these decentralized stablecoins that I really love is Bold from Liquidity. They're now on privacy pools. I have videos on both Liquidity and privacy pools now. I'm happy to see this. Actually, FX protocol has its own pool on privacy pools as well. And I did see Vitalik actually talk about this as well. He's like, appreciate your work both on privacy and pushing decentralized stablecoins forward, which is fantastic. Yeah, this is awesome. Like, it's decentralized stablecoins and privacy added into one little thing. That's great. Okay, that's what we want to see more of. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, here we have Bancor. It's like a clip of Dr. Mark Richardson, the product lead at Bancor, and he's talking about Carbon DeFi and why it's so great. I know I keep talking about it, and no, they are not a sponsor of my thing, but I really do like Carbon DeFi's design. And you can watch this little clip and kind of hear what he says. And basically, one of the things he says in here is that, like, one of the problems with being a liquidity provider is, generally speaking, when you provide liquidity, then you are basically, you are reversible. If you buy low, then you're actually forced to sell low again if you are a liquidity provider, if the prices don't move up and out of range. So let me try to use a chart to explain what he's saying. So for example, like right now I'm in this concentrated liquidity position, and I bought all here, and now I've already sold what I bought down here, up here. So as the price moves up, I start selling what I already bought. And then you become like and even if it goes at the top, and I've sold all my tokens and I'm happy with that, and it comes back down inside, then I start buying back immediately, which is maybe something you don't want. Like, this is something you have to monitor then. But whereas with Carbon DeFi, you can do like limit range orders, which would look more something like buy, sell here, right? And buy here. So if you were to buy here and the price goes out the top and then comes back down inside, you wouldn't start like selling again, or you wouldn't sell until the price gets up into your top range. And this is one of the wonderful things that I really like about it. So this is why I keep talking about it. It's a fantastic product. Okay, moving on. So you can watch this clip and kind of see what he was talking about. And he uses like eBay to reference it and kind of explain it and so forth. But anyways, moving on. So here we have Jasper the Friendly Ghost talking about the history and the birthday of Rocket Pool. Rocket Pool is one of a fantastic like liquid staking token. I really like it because you can set up your own Rocket Pool validator by basically borrowing other people's ETH in a way. Like it's not, you don't have to pay them interest, but you basically, like, instead of having to have the full 32 ETH to run a validator, you can borrow or take or use some of the Rocket Pool's pool of ETH to run your validator, and then you get your share of the validator rewards, and the rest go to the Rocket Pool token holders, right? They are ETH holders. So it's a fantastic model. I do have a video on it. It's definitely worth looking at. It's an OG, and The model here is very different than the model at Lido Staked ETH. And if you don't know the difference, I really highly suggest you look at them both and understand the difference if you are trying to use some liquid staking ETH. Now, obviously, I use both of them. I support both of them because I think both of them are quite important and good for the ecosystem. So I do use both of them. But I do respect Rocket Pool's ethos and endeavor, what they are trying to do. So yeah, it's just like happy birthday to them, basically. Okay, moving on. Rec News is talking about this. This is pretty interesting. Okay, so it says attackers have discovered a more efficient approach, hunting through legacy code for bugs everyone assumed were fixed or deprecated. Like the Lindy effect, the idea that the longer something is there, the safer it is. We have this thing in crypto, like protocols that or projects that are very old and have been there for a long time. People can kind of consider them to be safer than new products, of course, right? Because there's been a long time of hackers looking at them for exploits. But now we're seeing a fair amount of older products getting exploited because in the past few years, devs have learned, the industry has learned about exploits and risk factors and has improved all this time. So code that is properly audited, produced by humans, maybe with the assistance of AI, right? Especially AI to help to do an additional audit is fantastic, right? These protocols are very robust and should be like, of course you have to measure the dev's ability, right? If this dev is like, you know, I don't want to say like new to crypto and new to security, dev security and stuff like that, it'll be harder. But it's the same with all industries. Like if you go back to 100 years and look at medicine now, of course it's much better now than it was in the past. So the same thing we have with the crypto devs and Solidity code and just all code in general. Things just keep getting better and more robust and more educated. Whereas some of these older products were very experimental and they still have TVL. Like I remember like a legacy, very, very old version 1 Yearn Vault, like I think it was last month or the month before, got exploited. And I was so surprised that there was still money sitting in there, right? And it was just like the version 1. It wasn't even like wasn't even called Yearn. It was like Earn or something like this. So it got exploited. So anyhow, so you can check it out. Check out this article here, this shopping list problems. Rect has been a cool follow. They have great articles on exploits, and you know they kind of give it a little bit of artistic film noir style like writing to it. So I like to follow them, and I do like their protocols or their articles on exploits. I generally read them all. So moving on. So here we have some interesting stuff. There's going to be a few tweets. You'll see this all over the timeline today, and it's basically Moonwell. Okay, Moonwell is exploited. So first of all, we have Daniel Van Flange. He's a good follower. He tends to post stuff that's about like security and dev type stuff. So he says, Moonwell Finance has been exploited 3 times in 4 months. Once by shipped an AI YOLO smart contract update without testing it that it worked. Twice by the same Oracle issue, a month apart. Technically 4 months and 5 days, not even counting the minor bug they gave away, 8.4 million well reward budget. So yeah, so let's go through the rest of the tweets. So here we have Pashor. He's talking about, yeah, I'm going to save that one. And so, yeah, I can't find the other ones. Where are the other ones? So here they are. So here we have Moonwell. So Pashor, yeah, so here we are. Pashor, Claude Opus 4.6 wrote vulnerable code leading to a smart contract exploit. This what happened yesterday. So basically what I've been able to obtain and understand is they set the Oracle price of CB ETH to $1.12 instead of CB ETH is worth 1.12 ETH. Okay, so the exchange rate for CB ETH and ETH is 1.12, but the Oracle, the Claude based code created just didn't confused the exchange rate and set that to $1, and then money was exploited. Now the people at Moonwell have the depositors at Moonwell have bad debt because of this. Okay, moving on, I have one more which I need to find. I apologize. It must be this one. Yeah, and then here's Moonwell's tweet saying, "I'm sorry, we were looking at it, blah, blah, blah." So, yeah, so there's a lot here to talk about. Oh, there's that one more I wanted to talk about. So we'll skip that. We'll save this for after this comment. So here it is again. So I've said this a lot of times. Like, AI is a tool for people to use. AI is not a replacement. If you are depositing assets into a protocol that is purely vibe coded, then know your risks. Don't put a substantial amount of assets into something that is vibe coded, because AI is not perfect yet. Okay, they don't understand everything. They're just using, like, especially they don't understand intent very well. You can talk to it. It'll assess what it thinks you mean based on language models, and then produce something. But like, these guys are like, basically, I don't know very much about them, but based on what this guy's saying here, like they updated the contract, right, without testing it. They didn't do tests. They didn't put it on testnet and check it. They just like, oh, let's like just get Claude to fix this and update it and send, boom. And that's just pure like exactly YOLO, right? You have to be very careful about using vibe coded stuff. Like, I want the industry to develop and continue to move forward, and it's obvious that AI is going to be part of this. And I think it's important that people understand how to use AI to increase the utility and efficiency of the industry, but we cannot depend on it. We shouldn't be it's like back in the days when they were like, let's call the people who deploy pump fun meme coin bullshit let's call them devs. Like, sometimes people talk to me and message me and say like, oh, the dev, let the dev cook, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but I'm not really a dev. I am sort of a dev. I'm quasi dev, but I'm not gonna like run a protocol myself as a dev, like as the lead dev. No, I would hire actual devs, and I have actual devs to even the small things that I run. In the past, I have a team of devs. I have a front end dev and a Solidity dev and me, and we all work together to build stuff. Okay, but anyway, so yeah, there's that, and then there's a idea here. So this guy here, Hari, he commented on this same issue, and basically said like, we should remove open source code and go back to like unverified code, so then people can't exploit things as easily. It will be harder to exploit because it's unverified and you cannot read the code. And then Pasha's like, no, I've audited both open source and closed source code in my life, and I don't say this lightly. The last thing you should do about security for your project is make it closed source. In the context of security and closed source, you are making it harder for white hats to review your code in the bug bounty programs, and ones run by Immunify and Hackproof, which have helped projects for so billions of worth of hacks. So yeah, you can read through the rest of his point, but I agree with him completely. Like, the whole point of decentralized finance is that the good guys can see as much as the bad guys, and the good guys should be incentivized to help push the industry forward and protect the masses, so to speak. So we've got like paladins versus like necromancers, basically, and we need the paladins to have as much power as possible to fight the evil necromancers. Now, there was a tweet, an exploit a little while ago, where the MEV searcher, right, front run the exploiter and read the exploiter smart contract, which was unverified and I guess I'm not sure if we could call it closed source or not, because it is still deployed to the blockchain, right? But in one block, the MEV searcher was able to decode that guy's exploit smart contract, copy it, and front run it. So I don't really think closed source is going to protect us from black hat hackers. It's just going to make them have to change the way they exploit smart contracts. What we need to incentivize the paladins and keep the paladins happy and healthy and willing to support and help the projects that are in this space. So anyways, I would give Pashar a follow as well if you don't already. He talks a lot about security as well. He was the one who I first saw mention the Moonwell with this one here. Okay, so anyway, so that's that. Let's move on to something completely different, which is a little lighter and easier on the eyes. So it says, why bridge, then swap, then deposit on Arbitrum when you can do it all in one click? Okay, so if you go to Jumper and you go to Earn, you can see that there are lots of opportunities where you can be like, yeah, I want to get into this, and you can just kind of jump into these protocols. You can deposit now from anywhere. There a lot of these bridges are doing these kind of curated like strategies to make it easier for people to take advantage of positions, right? So I'm in this position, but I want to be in that position, or here, look at this position. This sounds better APR. I don't understand really where it is, but I'm going to just click these buttons, and now I'm in a better position. So this is great for people who don't have time or don't want to do a lot of research. But what I worry about is that Jumper is now creating their own responsibility for the results of these things. I'm not saying assets will be lost en route. Like Jumper will probably be, it'll probably be, not even probably. I'm certain that the route will be set and dependable and predictable. So for example, like your withdrawal from your vault on Optimism, the crossing of the bridge, and the depositing of that asset into, in this case, is Ethereum or Arbitrum or whatever, that will be completely fine, unquestionable, right? However, this protocol, Spark USDCS, might get exploited in the future, and then people who had used Jumper are going to be looking at Jumper and saying, hey, I used your front end to do this, and now I lost all my money. And then Jumper is going to have so Jumper has to be very careful about the opportunities that they put into here. And as I look through kind of some of them, they do look kind of somewhat safe, but I did just see like Moonwell, right? I saw it and now it's gone. I clicked more and it disappeared. But I like, that's a very, here, Moonwell flagship. And that Moonwell is the same protocol that we just saw get exploited because they're using AI to deploy, to write contracts that they don't test and deploy. So, yeah, so, I'd be careful. You still have to do research. Like, this is fantastic for a user experience, but I wouldn't trust this, because what the industry incentivizes right now is as much flow as possible. So Jumper is incentivized to put as many opportunities here as possible, and then to have people kind of jump through them. That's what Jumper is incentivized to do. What they want people to do is cross the bridges, because that's where they make their money. So crossing from one chain to another and making it look easy, and I can deposit anywhere in here and I can get across and it's easy, but is it safe? Okay, I don't know. Like I didn't look at this, but it says flagship USD on Morpho. It's Morpho, but it's Moonwell. I don't know. Like, I'll have to look deeper and look in here to see if this is safe. But you get my point, I think, and I kind of worry a little bit about that. Okay, moving on. Here we have Stacy talking about what's this? It's like, what's going on with Monad? In the last 3 weeks, 3 OG team members have left the team. These guys, the head of growth, the head of DeFi, and the ecosystem person, they're kind of gone. And it's usually not the best sign for a project that is crushing it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on with Monad. I still have a little bit of Monad positions. I'm dumping my Mon, like, that I'm farming and stuff like that. But why are these guys leaving? I don't know. They've left already. Well, one guy's leaving today, right? And maybe because maybe they're leaving not because they want away from the project, but maybe because they're not producing what they should. Because these guys are all growth, head of DeFi, ecosystem. These are all people whose job is basically to get more people to use the product, the chain, to get more TVL and to get more projects deployed. And maybe they're not doing that, and they should. And maybe that's why they're leaving. Maybe they're leaving not because they want to, but because they have to. And they were being, them leaving is easier on their resume than them being asked to leave. Okay, I don't know. That's pure speculation. But yeah, let's think about that. Okay, moving on. Here we have Mika. I follow her, and what I don't like, but she's intelligent, and some of the things she says kind of make sense. And I watched through this video, but she's all about Solana and meme coins, right? Which is to me is cancer. So she's like a person inside this cancerous cesspool, and sometimes the things she says I agree with. So here she's talking about Peter Thiel, and I guess she paid money, $15,000, to go on a podcast with this guy, whoever this guy is, and he basically just turned off the live stream and kept her money, I guess, and just called her a Peter Thiel shill or something, right? I can't remember exactly what Peter Thiel agent. So yeah, if you go through this and you listen to it, she's basically giving a whole bunch of research about how Peter Thiel is behind a lot of these Miladies, a lot of these meme coins, and how he is using he has studied how to control young people, and what he's found is culture is the way to control them. So he'll pump a meme coin, right, somehow, and then everybody will kind of get in on it, and it'll kind of pump, and then there's the extractors who take the money from the meme coin, and everyone thinks, all these young guys think that they're participating in the growth of some culture or some meme or they're early in this kind of stuff, and the extractors are taking away money. And I guarantee Peter Thiel, if he is doing what she says he's doing, he's making tons of money off of this stuff. Whoever pumps the coin first and then gets all these young guys to FOMO it, of course they're making money. Of course they're going to exit on them, right? So what I will say to this is, instead of looking at Peter Thiel and being, oh, he's bad, he's pumping meme coins, and people are stupid and they're following him and they don't know they're being controlled by him, and blah, blah, just stop buying meme coins. Buy things that have real utility, real use, and support projects that are actually doing real things instead of selling you pictures. And just kind of, talking hype cycles. It's very simple. Just use your logic to buy things instead of your FOMO, hype cycles, whatever. Anyhow, so you can watch through this. I do respect the things she's saying here in this case. Like I said, what she's saying, she's done quite a bit of research, and she's talking about how people are being controlled by Peter Thiel and his thing, and she's then defending herself. Why is she going to this party with this hat and stuff like that? Well, basically defending herself. Anyhow, so you can check that out and take with it as you please. Okay, this one's pretty interesting. Okay, so we have two tweets here by Paper Imperium, and I talked to him in the comments below. I can't find my comment, and so here, and so, but basically what he's talking about here is he's talking about comparing DeFi protocols to banks based on this thing called the NIM. So let me read what he writes here as the definition of NIM. Okay, NIM is a measure of how financially efficient a bank or other lender is. It is calculated with basic formula of interest income minus interest expense divided by average earning assets. And then he says, we won't clog it up with math and stuff like that. So he's basically saying that Aave, Compound, and Maker are way down in the bottom ranges of the 4,000 banks. If there are there are 4,400 banks in the U.S., and Aave would be 4,200, or sorry, Sky Maker and stuff like that. Now, I don't really. I agree with what he's saying. I understand what he's saying, but what I don't agree with is that he's kind of comparing apples and oranges. Okay, banks are very different than Aave. Aave has this, or Aave, Maker, and all of these. They have a very different situation. It's very hard for Aave to attract the money that a bank has. Aave is not protected by the government. Aave has smart contract risk. Transactions are immutable and irreversible, whereas banks are the opposite, right? Banks have a long history of being the place to put your money, and Aave doesn't. So there's a lot of unfairness there. And would I say banks are more efficient than Aave? No, I wouldn't, because there's so much waste. Like if you deposit your cash into a bank, you get no interest at all. Whereas Aave, you get the vast majority of the interest. And I think that that's important. Like Aave, and I'm just going to keep saying Aave, but I mean all DeFi, right? They need to attract liquidity. So in order to do that, they need to give better ROIs to liquidity providers, to the lenders. The lenders need to get a lot more money. Now, can you buy a house with Aave stuff? Yes, but you need to be over collateralized. Whereas at the bank, you don't need to be over collateralized. There's mortgages where you base on your credit, right? So, there's another big example. Of course, the bank is going to be more efficient when they don't need to fully collateralize a loan. They can just print money based on partial collateralization and so forth. They just have money out of nowhere because of their deposits, right? So of course there are a lot of things that it kind of is missing, but I do understand some of the things, and I do agree with some of the things he's saying, especially the part where he's like, maybe Aave, instead of just doing Aave v3, Aave v4, Aave v5, maybe we need to kind of like expand the products of Aave DAO. So give people other options. And as an example, you can see like EtherFi has like this thing called a card now where you can get a Visa card and you can spend on-chain money and so forth. And I did do a tweet on that. Is this the tweet here? No, of course I don't have it. Let me find that tweet. So here is my recent tweet. So here is the tweet here. Well, I was talking to Sam in Telegram. This is in the Frax Finance Telegram public chat, right? And I asked him about EtherFi FXUSD. So FXUSD on EtherFi right now is quoting you 3.5%. It's not quite live. So if you do go there, and there is some like geo blocking type stuff where you will not see this option if you are in certain places in certain countries, because the TradFi system is terrible for this kind of, don't give APR to our people, we want to protect them from your interest, whereas in fact they're protecting the banks from losing deposits to things that pay better interest, right? So anyway, so that's another thought altogether. But here we are talking about this system that Frax is working with EtherFi. So if you do have an EtherFi account and a card, it's called like the EtherFi cash account, you can kind of look for Frax right now. And let's read what Sam says. We are still developing the RF streaming system with them. It's not finished. Our goal is to simply have a risk-free rate streamed into the card and shows up, and users do not have to do anything at all. You will see your balance go up in the card because it was sent to your address, which would be the best UX. So this is fantastic. Like, so if you buy FRX USD inside the Cash App, or you send FXR USD into the Cash App, then eventually what they're going to do is they're going to take the real yield that they're getting from T-bills and stuff like that, mint some more FX USD and just deposit it into your account. So you're gonna, it's like a traditional bank. Like, you don't even need to understand where it comes from. This is not. There's more as well. I didn't show it all, but these are not vaults. These are not farming opportunities. This is just a simple ERC20 token that gets extra airdrops to you based on, like, you know, off-chain yield that they are generating, which is interesting and pretty cool, and I think worth sharing definitely. Yeah, so that's about it. I do have one more tweet for you. Now, I should link that back to what I was talking about here with Paper Ethereum. And here's a good example of other products that are kind of like how DeFi can kind of change and develop and adapt and grow to create a more utilized system. And he does have a list here of things. Let me try to find them. Yeah, you can kind of read through this and kind of go through like some of the things he says. So like term lending. So instead of this like Aave, you know, interest, you know, variable interest rate, like maybe fixed rate on at terms for specific terms. And we do have products that are doing that. There's one on there's quite a few actually, but there's one that comes to mind called Spine Protocol that's going to be on Rise when it goes live. Unsecured lending, so that's like uncollateralized, basically, you know, so, you know, like using credit to borrow. It's like, this is something that DeFi hasn't really tackled properly yet. There is some things there's something called 3Jane that has this, or is developing this idea. So using your credit to borrow instead of using collateral, right? Second, lease, restricted purpose lending. So lending for specific purposes, and this kind of already happens as well on Gearbox, but it's specific lending to specific DeFi protocols instead of like, oh, I want to borrow it specifically to run a business, a real life brick store business. You can't do that on Gearbox, but yeah, specific lending. LLA bank charges rates based on and more favors than liquidation value. You can read, I don't know, but you can read through safety deposit boxes, automated. So you're saying like the banks have a lot of other products that are like people might want to use. And then if they're using these other products, they might not care so much about like how much interest their deposits are getting. And like, for example, there's a bank, a neobank that I use that gives me 3% cash back if I hold a large amount of capital in my checking account, right? In my everyday spending account, which has no interest. But then if I deposit that capital into the high interest rate, then my cashback on my Visa goes down to 1%. So this is an example of like, if you're going to use your credit card a lot, then you might want to hold that capital. And there's actually a way around it. Like, you can move the capital into the everyday account in an instant, go to the grocery store, buy all that the food, get your 3% cash back, and then move the capital back to the high interest rate. So anyways, so that's just like a bug or a system exploit or whatever you want to call it, just work around a loophole. But anyhow, you can see his point is that like the banks have all these other little things that can kind of offset people's, you know, anger at not getting high interest rate. But again, I'll mention that DeFi is different. DeFi has to attract liquidity. it's at the point right now where we need to attract more and more liquidity, and the only way to do that is to pay liquidity providers, lenders, or LPs good APR ROI to take the risk of using DeFi. Last tweet today is Ubisoft. Executive says gamers need to get comfortable with not owning games. I hate this idea. Maybe because I'm a boomer, and like I miss the days when I could just download with Napster or Limelight or whatever. I could just download MP3s, have a whole bunch of MP3s on my MP3 player, and listen to them all the time, instead of Spotify, where I get hammered with like friggin' ads every couple songs, or I have to pay them monthly subscription, or I have to listen to random songs that I don't want to listen to. Like this is kind of what Spotify is doing, and I miss the days where that, and I miss cartridge games where I'd sit down with my friends and I would we'd sit around, we'd snack, maybe drink or do drugs and play like couch games, like Mario Kart and we'd all play on a big split screen TV and just have fun. That doesn't happen anymore. You all need a copy of the game. Even if you're in the same house, you still need a copy of the game, or you got to work some weird offline, Steam offline type thing. So this is kind of happening a lot, and that is games and life is becoming subscription based, and you own nothing, and I kind of hate it, but maybe I'm a boomer and I just got to accept the fact that that's the way the world is going. And then, but look at the stock, Ubisoft stock. Now it's just plummeting because of this kind of stuff. Anyhow, that's it for today. I hope this has been interesting and useful. Thank you so much for watching or listening, and goodbye.